Professor Gillespie will get straight into questions, if that is okay. The Gillies report was damning, but particularly scathing about you as an individual, your leadership, your management, your entire time at the University of Dundee. What do you say in response to that report, and what do you say to the staff who have lost their jobs, whose jobs are under threat, and the students whose studies have been disrupted because of the way you managed that university for so many years?
Well, let me start off with an apology to the staff and students. I think staff and students deserve better than they've had with the management and the governance of the University of Dundee over quite some time, but particularly over the period of 2024. And that's a heartfelt apology for a university that I love and a city that I hugely respect. The second thing to say is the Gillies report clearly is a forensic piece of work that shows some of the challenges, some of the difficulties, long-term and also some of the short-term difficulties at the University of Dundee, and I appreciate over the next 3 hours we will go into that in a great deal of detail. As far as the way it's presented me and my management style, that's not something that I recognise. I think as a leader, as a manager of the university, I was always, and will continue to be insofar as I'm able, a champion of the University of Dundee and the people in it and what it tries to achieve. And I don't recognise some of the characteristics of my management style, but again, convey that I'm sure that we'll get into that in detail.
So are you contesting the findings of the Pamela Gillies report?
Well, I think there's the findings of the Gillies report which are very specific and forensic around some of the issues on the financial management of the organisation. And as I say, I'm sure we'll get into that, I hope, in a great deal of detail in this conversation. But in terms of how it represents me and my management style, that's not something that I recognise. Now, I think that's a different level of comment to saying that I'm contesting the forensic analysis. The forensic analysis is what the forensic analysis is.
How can the forensic analysis therefore be correct in the financial situation, but the same person who did the forensic analysis into your leadership style, in your view, got it wrong? I mean, she says you tended to control the narrative of the court and elsewhere, consistently painted a picture that all was well at the university, frequently demonstrated hubris, dangerous over-self-confidence and complacency, often in combination with arrogance. You had an overbearing leadership style, behaviours and dislike of potentially awkward confrontations and questioning. I mean, it wasn't just one remark. I mean, she rips apart your character.
She does, and I don't recognise it.
How could she get that so wrong then? And she's not the only... Did you watch her evidence session yesterday?
I did not. I was travelling to come here.
You were travelling yesterday. You travel a lot. We'll come on to that in a bit. But, I mean, the evidence session yesterday was not supportive of your leadership style. Were those witnesses all wrong yesterday?
Oh, I don't know what the witnesses said yesterday.
Well, I'm saying
I didn't see it.
They criticised your leadership style.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Why are you the only person that thinks you were a good leader, whereas Pamela Gillies makes it very clear in her report that your style of leadership was part of the problem here?
Well, I think the problems at the University of Dundee were based in some long-term financial challenges, and there were certainly cultural challenges at Dundee. When I joined Dundee, 4 years before I left, when I joined Dundee, Dundee had gone through some very, very difficult times with its previous leadership and also with its finances. And one of the things that had happened at Dundee is Dundee had, as I say, lost its confidence, lost its direction. And what I, plus others in the senior team, the executive and the leadership team and beyond, tried to do was build a sense of direction, strategy and confidence at that university. And that required some robust conversations and some difficult decisions. And I led many of these, not all of them, because it's a team game running a university. But I led a number of these conversations, some of them which were not always popular with everyone.
So one of her analyses of your behaviour and leadership characteristics is you consistently painted a picture that all was well at the university. Do you disagree with that?
Well, I think what I presented at the university was based on the information that I had available to me.
OK, so just on that, on the 28th of February last year, you told the whole university that the university was moving into a surplus after a decade of financial deficits. That was a lie, wasn't it, when you said that?
Well, it was perhaps incorrect, but it wasn't a lie.
OK. If it was incorrect, and you said it in full knowledge, as Gillies tells us, that the principal was aware that there was an £8 million hole in the financial year 24 budget, that was a lie.
No. What we were looking for was a betterment, and betterment was through not doing some of the things that would otherwise have been done. So no, there was no lie, there was no mendacity there. It may have been incorrect, and I accept that it was incorrect. I accept that I didn't have a full picture.
You did.
Well, I didn't.
At the time, the principal was aware that there was an £8 million hole in the financial year 24 budget. At the same time, you were telling the entire university that it was moving into a surplus after a decade of financial deficits. You may say that is incorrect. I believe if you said that, which is clearly incorrect, in knowledge of an £8 million deficit, you lied to the university and you were painting a rosy picture that all was well in the university, which is one of the characteristics you have been criticised for in the Gillies report.
Well, I think what I was trying to do with the university always was present what I understood to be the reality and the truth. And I clearly did not understand that there was the gap there was. But there was no lie, there was no mendacity in that. Error, yes, I accept error. I accept that the financial information that the executive group was working with, that they understood, and the financial information that the court understood was not correct and not underpinning underlying financial challenges. But it wasn't a lie. Wrong, yes.
I can't believe you're saying that, and I wholly disagree with you. Do you accept ultimate responsibility as Principal and Vice-Chancellor for what is in here? You've said with the investigation in the financial element of the report you don't contest in any way. It is damning and completely eviscerates you and your senior colleagues in the university. Do you accept the ultimate responsibility because you were in charge over this period?
Well, Convener, I've already accepted the ultimate responsibility.
Well, no, to be very clear, well, just for a moment, you were saying how as a group, as a team, as an organisation, but the buck stops with you. Do you accept that you are ultimately responsible?
I accept the buck stops with me, which is why, at the end of last year, I left.
Okay. How did you leave? How did you let the university know that you were leaving?
The university was advised by the Chair of Court, which is what the Chair of Court preferred.
And how did you advise the Chair of the Court?
The Chair of Court and I had a conversation over a weekend, and the Chair of Court informed me that she and numbers of her colleagues had no confidence in my future leadership, and we came to a discussion that I would resign. And
how did you formally submit your resignation?
I had a conversation with her, and then I sent her an email confirming it.
Well, the Courier newspaper is reporting this morning you sent a text message. Did you send a text message to resign?
I'm fairly sure I sent an email.
The Courier's fairly sure you sent a text message, which is why they ran the story this morning.
I think the Courier might not be correct in that, but it's possible I did. I don't now recall. Okay. I don't now recall. But let me be clear, Kavira. I had had a conversation with the Chair of Court, with the Deputy Chair of Court, and we had agreed that I would resign. And I was asked, rightly, to send a message to notify formally that I would indeed resign, and I did that. And I cannot, with my hand in my heart, now, I think I sent an email, but I cannot, with my hand in my heart, say whether it was an email or a text message. It could have been a text message. I don't think so. I think it was an email.
Okay. I think I would remember that ending my career at a university and how I did it, and I think I would hope it would be done in a proper way. But do you know what I thought when I read that story this morning? And whether it was an email or a text message, I read that, and the only thing I thought about you was you were a coward. You couldn't go back to the university and face the staff who were losing their jobs, face the students whose studies were so badly disrupted. You just created this mess and walked away into the sunset. Is that right?
Well, that's a pretty damning interpretation of what happens.
It's how I feel from reading that and seeing everything about you.
Okay, but whether I'm a coward or whether I'm not a coward, that's for other people to comment on, not for me. I don't think I'm a coward. But I resigned in the way that the Chair of Courts and the Deputy Convener of Court preferred that I did.